Before we delve into different conflict resolution techniques, let's review preliminary mindsets and tips to help you in any situation. Choose your battles. If something doesn't mean that much to you, avoid making a conflict out of it. If it's something important to you and/or ongoing, then you'll want to pursue it. Never start a discussion when angry. Step back until you're calm before initiating it. Raise the topic casually and pleasantly when you both have time and there isn't an audience. Start by telling the person what you like about them or what they are doing correctly before you criticize. This is especially important if the person isn't aware you are upset. Acknowledge up front any part you had in creating the conflict. Sincerely apologize for your own wrongdoing. Really listen to the other person. Give confirmations like nodding and saying Use open body language and facial expressions. Don't interrupt, and maybe even paraphrase what he or she said. Focus on the heart of the current issue. Avoid bringing up past problems. It's tempting to bring up old sins and arguments, but avoid that temptation. It escalates tension and makes resolving the current problem all but impossible. Use neutral language and focus on problems with the circumstances, not problems with the person. For a more in-depth analysis of this tip, check out my communication hacks video linked in the pinned comment. Remember that avoiding conflict can be unhealthy. There are times it's necessary to voice a difference of opinion and talk things out. So when an important issue is at stake, gracefully approach conflict. Some conflicts take time and discussion, but when possible, try to resolve an issue before the day ends. If not resolved, at least come to an emotional truce so that anger and resentment are less likely to grow. Ever have an argument and just need to get things off your chest afterward? A great way to express yourself without escalating tension is to write a letter. Despite harsh criticism and the dubious nature of his book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, author John Gray's love letter technique has been met with adequate approval as a tool for safe self-expression. The basic template calls for 5 sections, one for anger, one for hurt and sadness, one for fear, one for remorse, and finally one for love. The love section may also include a response you would like to hear or a request for the future. Here's an example. Dear Esabelle, it makes me angry when you take my belongings without asking. I'm sad I had to lock my dresser already, and now my closet isn't safe either. I am afraid these incidents will strain our close bond as roommates, as I am equally afraid you will keep another turtle in one of my bags. I'm sorry I called you a 𝑻𝑰𝐌𝐻𝑚. I also didn't entirely mean to take your stuffed owl as collateral. I will return it as soon as I remember where I hid it. I love that you appreciate my taste, which is one of the reasons why we normally get along so well. The response I would like to hear from you.
I'm very sorry about taking your stuff without permission again. I promised to stop it. I also promised to pay for the one tote the turtle ruined.
Your roommate, Esabelle. You could give the other person the letter or keep it to yourself. Either way, the letter can help you calm down, organize your thoughts, and communicate more effectively, which will hopefully help you prevent future incidents. Prejudice is very real, but what can you do to create peace despite prejudice? A technique traditionally used to ease racial prejudice can help, and that is the mere exposure effect. a psychological phenomenon in which people form a preference for something because it is familiar. In general, familiarity leads to increased liking, but as we all know, negative interactions could worsen the situation. So what goes into a positive interaction? Prejudiced parties should be kept of equal status, like coworkers or students, instead of different statuses like employee and employer or leader and follower. The interactions will be best with the parties cooperating in pursuit of a common goal. They should not set up the parties to be in competition with one another. Multiple studies have demonstrated that positive exposure reduces anxiety, increases empathy and understanding, and lessens perceived threats on the part of both parties. Sometimes a conflict that won't end requires aid from a neutral third person. Mediation refers to help from a third party who can facilitate communication, give suggestions, ease prejudice, and help the parties think win-win. Every party should trust the mediator. A mediator can help all sides use neutral language that will reduce further tension and create a win-win solution. He or she might have the conflicting parties name their goals and rank them by importance, which allows compromise that more likely provides all sides with their most important desires. And each side will be more likely to agree to a compromise in which it must surrender some of its wants if such a compromise comes from a neutral mediator rather than an opposing side. In cases of substantial disagreements, mediation may need to become arbitration. Arbitration occurs when the third party doesn't just give suggestions and facilitate communication, but actually considers both sides and imposes a solution. Few people like a solution forced upon them, so sometimes just the chance of arbitration will motivate those in conflict to collaborate toward a solution on their own. Arbitration is a necessary solution for stalemate conflicts, but collaborating without an arbitrator often does lead to all sides getting more of what they want. So how can parties work out a disagreement on their own and get most or all of what they want? An ideal technique is known as integrative agreements, which are win-win agreements that come about after addressing the core interests of all parties. This concept is best explained by an example. Say my sister and I both want the last apple, so we split it in half. But it turns out I want the apple for the purpose of baking a pie, but my sister wants the apple for the purpose of planting the seeds. We both got 50% of what we wanted, but by discussing our core purposes, we could get 100% of what we want. Not every agreement will end with 100% satisfaction on both sides, but integrative agreements stand a good chance of each side getting more of what they want than in a traditional split-down-the-middle compromise. The most extreme conflicts may call for the intensive conflict resolution technique called G.R.I.T. G.R.I.T stands for Graduated and Reciprocated Initiatives in Tension Reduction. Here's how it works. At least one side announces a desire for conciliation. It declares an act of conciliation before performing the act exactly how it said it would. Side 1 invites the other sides to reciprocate with acts of their own. Declaring the acts before performing them helps communicate motives and pressures all sides into reciprocating with their own acts of conciliation, which perpetuates the reciprocation cycle. By initiating small, equal, and reciprocated acts of conciliation, all sides can reduce tension and mistrust while keeping risk of exploitation low. The acts should be public or at least verifiable to keep the conflicting parties honest. Studies have found multiple benefits of this method, like increased trust, cooperation, and defense against exploitation. G.R.I.T can apply to small disagreements, but it's especially famous for its ability to diffuse large-scale conflicts like wars and trade disputes. Thanks for watching! I hope these hacks help make your relationships nothing less than the best they can be.